Not when you're having a hard day, when you feel lonely, when you've got news from your doctor that you weren't expecting, when somebody said something to you that hurt you. Now, is God with you in all of those circumstances? Yes, 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 yes. But what's the context of him saying this? Great Commission. The context of this is, you go and do my work in spreading the gospel, and I'm going to be right there with you. I planted, Apollos watered. What does the next part of that statement say? God gave the increase. Does that mean that God wasn't involved in the planting and the what? God was there all along. The Lord is with us every step of that way. If you're afraid, talk to the Lord. If you're afraid of what somebody might say or what somebody might do, talk to the Lord. He's right there. You talk to him like he's in heaven, but talk to him like he's right there beside you, because that's where he is. He's with you every step of the way. And so what I need to do is to awaken to the lost souls that are all around me. Everybody that I meet, almost, with very, very, very few exceptions, everybody that I meet is lost. Okay? I need to be aware of that. You know, the people that upset you, they're lost. Whether that's at work, whether that's at the store, whether that's somebody in your family, whether that's somebody in your neighborhood who keeps parking on your grass, they have a lost soul. And so when you go and knock on their door and say, "Excuse me, your truck is on my lawn again," they've got a lost soul. And more than getting off of your grass, they need to know about Jesus. I need to awaken the lost souls around me. I need to create opportunities. I need to talk to people. I need to give them these cards that you can carry around in your pocket, in your wallet. I need to give them a track. I need to send them a link to some lesson. All of those things we talked about, just creating opportunities in order that I might have an opportunity to say, "Hey, could we get together and study the Bible sometime?" And the majority of people are going to say what to that question? No. When you ask somebody if they'll study the Bible with you, the majority of the people are going to say no. How do we know that? Well, because when that man went and sowed the seed, did it always fall on good soil? It didn't always fall on good soil. Now, if you prepare the soil and you create opportunities and you live a godly life in front of people, that is preparing them for you to ask the question, "Hey, will you study the Bible with me?" And in that case, John, maybe most people will say yes instead of no. And so we talked over the last few weeks about tools and resources and just a variety of things that are out there, study guides that are out there for you to take and use, so that really we don't have an excuse. If my excuse is, "I don't think I know enough," which I think is the biggest excuse that sometimes I don't know enough. You do. You're a Christian. You know exactly what you need to tell other people to do to become a Christian because you became one. But if you're fearful of, "I don't know how to do it," there's study guides out there that'll just walk you through the steps, and all you have to do is open a Bible, read the verse, and answer a question. We can do that. All right, so last bit of it tonight. Last bit of it tonight is talking about challenging ourselves. What page is this? 3? Challenging ourselves. Is it effective to set goals? Is goal setting effective? Yeah. What happens if you don't set a goal? Just in general, I'm just talking about life in general. If you don't set a goal, you won't do anything. What else? You don't have a vision. If you don't set a goal in what's going to happen? No direction. Cheryl Ann, teacher, yes, raise your hand. Your path is, say it again? Your path is unclear and undefined. So if you do set goals, then your path is clear. You've got a clear direction. You've got a clear purpose. But that doesn't happen if you don't set goals. Because if you don't set goals, then you could end up anywhere, right? By the way, teachers and parents, do you see that with children? If children don't have goals, where do they go? What'd you say, Nicole? Nowhere. On the couch. okay? If children do not have goals, they end up on the couch. So do you set goals for them sometimes, for your children? Yeah. Setting clear goals, specific. Many of you have set goals over the years, and you know what SMART goals are, right? S-M-A-R-T. What are SMART goals? What does S stand for in SMART for goals? Specific. What does that mean? You can't just set a generic goal. When it comes to evangelism, let me encourage you not to say, well, I need to just do more. Is that specific? No. I mean, it's going in the right direction, right? You're not saying, well, I need to do less. Less would be less, that's not specific either, so at least you're going in the right direction. But be specific. What's the M in SMART for SMART goals? Measurable, all right? So saying I'm going to do more while it's going in the right direction, it's not necessarily measurable, you know, because, well, I could do anything and still be doing more, but I need something that's going to be measurable, that I can say that I know that I have attained it, that I've reached it. What is the A? There's a couple different words that are sometimes used for the A, but what's one of the general A's in SMART goals? Achievable is the one I usually think of. Attainable. Attainable, achievable. What does that mean? It's got to be something that's within your reach. If you're going to set a goal in personal evangelism, is it attainable, is it achievable for you to say, I am going to teach the gospel to 900,000 people in the month of June? Probably not. Just probably not. So what's the R? And again, there's a couple different words that sometimes come up with the R in SMART goals. What did somebody say? Realistic. Realistic is sometimes one of those words that goes along with the attainable, reachable. Sometimes you'll have the word relevant for the R. What does relevant mean? You know, it's got to fit what I'm even talking about here. It's got to fit within the scope. And then the T in SMART, and these are, I don't even know why I'm talking about this, probably because Joe Holland drilled it into my head about setting SMART goals. But the T is time sensitive. And sometimes there's other T words that come along with those SMART goals. But time sensitive, it says I need to set a date on this. Let me be more specific with this question. Ladies, I was going to put it in general terms, but that wouldn't work. Ladies, when you were looking to get married, did you set a date? Notice I didn't ask the guys. Ladies, when you were looking to get married, did you set a date? Because I didn't ask the guys, because the guys would be like, yep, we'll do it. When do you want to do it? Whenever. Just tell me when and I'll show you. Because guys are like, what? But the ladies are like, we're putting it on the calendar right here, right? So there's a date that's set. Time-sensitive goals means I want to meet this goal, and here's the date. Since I keep mentioning Joe Holland, I'll mention him again. Joe Holland used to say that the calendar drives things. Do you notice that to be true? Calendar. When you put something on a calendar, does that make a difference? Now, for some of us, with our electronic calendars, we're like just, I didn't meet it. Copy. Paste over here 4 weeks later, and I'll just see if I can meet it over there. But generally speaking, if you plug something in on a date, you need to say, I'm going to meet it by that date. And so, anyway, set goals that are specific, that are measurable, that are achievable, realistic for you, because those goals will help you to have a clear direction. Number two, I spent too much time kind of introducing some of that, but number two, having goals will help to trigger behaviors that maybe you wouldn't normally have. Does that make you think of raising kids? When you set goals for your kids, does that sometimes cause them to do things that they wouldn't normally do? Yeah. When you set goals for your kids and say, we're going to do that, would your kids normally clean up their room on their own if you didn't set that goal for them? And you're like, they don't do that even when I do. But if you didn't set the goal, would they, and fill in the, so they need goals that will help them to manipulate behavior. So what about us? And again, we're in the arena of personal evangelism. If I set goals, it helps to trigger behaviors that I might not normally have. Now, these next couple kind of fall in line with that same concept. But number 3, when I set goals, it helps to keep me focused. When you play football, now, I've known of players who intercepted a pass and then ran the wrong way after they intercepted. Or I've known of players, seen players that picked up a fumble and then they started running the wrong way. You've seen that happen? Yeah. And the whole team is like shouting, wrong, But generally speaking, when you're playing football, you're playing basketball, you know where the goal is. That's where we're headed. That's where the team's going. So when we set goals in personal evangelism, that's where I'm going. It helps us to stay focused on that's what I want to accomplish. When I set goals, it helps to motivate me. I'll just say this in a general way. You don't need to respond to this. But if you set a goal that you are going to lose a certain number of pounds by a certain date, does that help in this regard? Does that give you a clear direction? Yeah, that's kind of where I'm headed. All right. Does it sometimes help to trigger behaviors? Well, I can't eat that. Well, normally I would, but I've set this goal that I'm not going. Does it help you to stay focused? Sometimes, except when somebody puts a homemade key lime pie. Never mind. But when to help you to stay focused when you do these things. Does it help to motivate you? I've set this goal. I want to, now, maybe losing weight was the bad example. Let's scrub that because I lost you when I mentioned that and you got mad at me for mentioning that, so forgive me. But think of some other goal that you would set. Does it motivate you to get there? That's what goals do. If I didn't have the goal, I wouldn't be interested in it. And the last thing it does is not only does it motivate me and keep me focused, but it sustains me. I'm on a path, and it helps me to sustain the direction and to sustain momentum in the process because, well, I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I'm almost there. What happens when you start getting close to a goal? Almost there. And now you're driven a little bit, I'm there. And as closer you get sometimes, the more you do to accomplish it. If I'll do it just a little bit more and I'm there. Now, all of this is in the arena of talking about personal evangelism. We've talked about awakening to prospects around us. We've talked about creating opportunities, talking to people, giving them the cards and sending them the links and the various things we can do. And we've talked about trying to teach people the Bible. But all of that is in the arena of we just need to do better. We need to do more. All of that's true. But can I encourage you, I thought I already had 6 up there. Setting goals helps us to build our confidence and to promote growth. I build my confidence. The more I go through with achieving these goals, I'm building my confidence, and it is helping me to grow in this process. And so those are your 2 blanks there on builds confidence and produces growth. So that little next section that you have on your sheet is just a possibility for you to look at individually and to say, okay, what do I need to do? Oops, come back to me. Can I encourage you to look through that and just set some personal goals for yourself? Just go and just sometime you can set whatever marker you want. The one that's here is I'm going to do that this year. Well, if that's the case, you've got 7 more months in 2020, but you might set a different marker out there. Remember, goals need to be time sensitive. You set a date. I want to pass out this many things. I want to talk to this many. I want to invite this many people to worship. Whatever. And it doesn't have to be these goals. You can make different goals. But make some goals and put some numbers in there. Because numbers, remember, goals need to be specific and measurable. Numbers will help drive you. Make it achievable. Don't say, well, I'm going to invite 900,000 people to worship in the next month. Okay, great. I hope you will. You know, that's wonderful. You know, we'll have to knock out some walls and put some chairs out in the parking lot, but go for it. All right, but that's not realistic. Put some numbers there. And you don't have to share that with anybody else. Just keep it to yourself. It's between you and God that says, God, here's what I want to accomplish in reaching people with the gospel. You may not like this idea. You may look at this and say, that's kind of corny. Okay. Come up with something that's going to motivate you. Come up with something that's going to drive you to accomplish what we need to accomplish in the greatest work on earth. To see people, to see that they have an eternal soul, they are an eternal soul, and that something that we do, something we can't, that we say can affect where they spend eternity. So, let me share we've got about 12 minutes here. Let me share 10 guarantees. Do you like guarantees? Everybody likes guarantees, right? I mean, that sells cars, right? Right, Sylvester? I mean, if you can give somebody a guarantee, it sells cars. You know, if you could say to somebody, I guarantee you this car is going to last for 10 years and it'll never break down. Would you buy that car? Man, I'd buy that car. I don't even know what kind of car it is. But I mean, if you could say it's never going to break down in 10 years, people like guarantees. All right, so here's some guarantees for you when it comes to personal evangelism. You're not going to like the first one, but it's a guarantee. Personal evangelism is difficult work. I know I told you wouldn't like it. It's difficult work. Now, aren't most things that are worthwhile difficult work? Would you say, at least early on in marriage, would you say that marriage was difficult work? Maybe you shouldn't answer that out loud, just think in your head. Are there some things that are difficult work, but they are worthwhile? Yeah. Is raising children difficult work? Wouldn't you like to take them back to the store and exchange them in? Get a cute teddy bear instead? You know, this is difficult work. Worth it in the long run? Yeah, it's going to take some effort on our part, and there may be some things that are difficult about it, but we might say, well, doing nothing is a whole lot easier. Guess what, Christians? Doing nothing should not be an option for us. Doing nothing should not be an option for us. We need to get engaged. Now, it's not just difficult work. Tag this number 2 on right beside it. It is highly rewarding. Is there effort, difficulties, heartaches involved? Yeah. Is it rewarding? When is it rewarding? Tell me what. Personal evangelism, when is that rewarding?
When you can see the results.
When you see the results. When is it rewarding? When somebody's soul is saved. You see somebody baptized into Christ, that's rewarding. When is it rewarding? As soon as you open your mouth and you start the study, you just feel it. Was that the teacher raising her hand? Okay, go ahead. Sorry, peripheral vision, I couldn't tell, and I know it wasn't Nicole because she doesn't raise her hand. Go ahead, Sherilyn. Yep. Okay. Your reward is right at that moment. The Lord is helping you through it. If I don't think I have a verse written down here next to this. If I were to write a verse here, and what Sherilyn says makes me think of 1 Corinthians chapter 3. If you want to write this next to rewarding, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 5 through 14, is that whole section that talks about I planted, Apollos watered, God gave the increase. That's rewarding. That's God taking care of the reward. But you get down into the later verses there, into about verse 14, where he uses the word reward to talk about our efforts in personal evangelism. And there, he's even talking about the reward in heaven. How would you like to be in heaven and see somebody that you helped obey the gospel in heaven? That's what 1 Corinthians 3 is talking about. Would that be rewarding? Not selfish pride, but thank God they obeyed the gospel. And they get to enjoy heaven with me. Now, difficult? Yes. Rewarding? So the reward is twofold. It's now and it's then. It's now and it's in heaven. It's as soon as I start, as soon as I open my mouth, when I see results. Number 3, guarantee. Hardest part? Getting started. So it's like some of our cars. Once you get it started, it runs okay. But boy, you just sit there and you pray that it's going to turn over. Sometimes the hardest part is just getting started. Overcoming those barriers, opening our mouth, asking the question. If we can just come over, but once we get started, oh, this is okay. This gets easier. Now, this next one is likened unto it. Success breeds success. What does that mean? You sit down and study the Bible, and this is going to go along. Well, let me just put it up here because these are all different sayings, but they all kind of go together. You sit down and study the Bible with somebody, and you just caught the bug. You just caught the bug. When you sit down and study the Bible with somebody, you won't be satisfied with saying, oh, okay, this study's over. Okay, I'm going to go back and watch the reruns of MacGyver again, and then we'll have another Bible study 10 years from now. You sit down and study the Bible with somebody, and you'll want to do it again. There's something about whether that person obeys the gospel. Don't misunderstand the point that we're making here. Whether somebody obeys the gospel or not, okay? Remember what we said last week? Don't rush somebody to baptism. We want to teach them the gospel. We want them to be baptized. But my job, remember what Paul said? Lord did not send me to baptize. Does that mean that baptism is not essential for salvation? No, that's not what it means. If that's what it meant, then why did he baptize people 3 verses earlier in 1 Corinthians chapter 1? But he says, my purpose is to preach the gospel. Well, whose responsibility is it for somebody to be baptized? Their responsibility. My responsibility is to teach the gospel. And when I do that,